Hey there everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Well, you asked for it, you're getting it. Welcome to another edition of Worst to Best Albums. Today we're going to look at the live albums from Deep Purple. All right, yesterday we did the studio albums, today we got the live albums. As I was pulling them off the shelf, I realized, shit, I have more live albums by this band than I have studio albums. Because they got a lot of them, all right, 20-something, all right. So I put them in some sort of an order here. You know, I've got, the top 5 or 10, pretty set in stone there. There's so many other ones that are all, degrees of quality and, length and how, complete they are and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't want to get too wrapped up in the order of a lot of them. I think let's use this episode more as if you're a fan of Deep Purple and all you have of the live albums are like Made in Japan and Made in Europe and maybe one or two others, you're missing a hell of a lot. So let's use this more of an excuse to kind of show off some of the other live albums that are available, and I'll talk a little bit about each one, so you maybe can go out and check them out yourself. But as far as how they're ranked, the bottom half, don't get too hung up on where they sit here, all right? Because they're all pretty decent for varying degrees, all right. Some I obviously like more than others, but anyway. So let's start off at the bottom, and the only reason this one's at the bottom is because the sound quality, and this one's probably the worst out of everything that I own. But it's really notable because it's the only semi-official live release from the Mark I era of the band. So this is live in Inglewood, 1968, featuring, of course, Rod Evans and Nick Simper in the band. Not great quality, like I mentioned, but this is it, right? There's really nothing live available from that era. You got Hush, Kentucky Woman, Mandrake Root, Help, Wring That Neck, River Deep, Mountain High, and Hey Joe. And it's barely over, I think, 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. So it's not this was them opening up for Cream. So this could be their full performance as an opening act for Cream on that particular tour. So Los Angeles Forum, California, October 18th, 1968. A really cool curiosity. Great to have, obviously, because that's really all probably you're going to get representing that era of the band. Next up, live at Montreux, 2011, Deep Purple and Orchestra. Okay, this is, of course, the most recent lineup of the band. Gillan, Glover, Pace, Airy, and Morse. You got 2 discs on here, all sorts of stuff from throughout their career with an orchestra. I also saw them on this tour. Pretty cool. It's a good recording. Sounds great, good stuff. More orchestra stuff. Here we have In Concert with the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Paul Mann. Okay, this is from, obviously, the Royal Albert Hall. London, England, 25th and 26th of September, 1999. Okay, got John Lord still in the band at this point. You got the Concerto for a Group and Orchestra stuff, playing that again for the first time in all those years, as well as all sorts of stuff from the classic era and the Morse era. Another good quality recording. Back to Montreux again, 2006. They all came down to Montreux on the Lake Geneva shoreline. This is another good one. Okay, obviously the current lineup of the band: Pictures of Home, Things I Never Said, Strange Kind of Woman, Rapture of the Deep, Wrong Man, Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, When a Blind Man Cries, Lazy, John Lord keyboard solo, Don Airey keyboard solo, Space Truck and Highway Star and Smoke on the Water, Rapture of the Deep tour. Another really good recording. Fun, band in fine form, having a great time. This is a good one. Deep Purple, Total Abandon, Australia, 1999. Obviously the Abandon tour. All right, pretty heavy stuff. A couple tracks from that album from Perpendicular, as well as a bunch of old classics. I like that. I don't like this one as much as other people seem to. Nobody's perfect. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to over the last couple of years, especially since I've been doing like Deep Purple related shows here on the channel, who are telling me they like Nobody's Perfect better than like Made in Japan or Made in Europe. I never saw that. I just don't get that. This obviously is coming towards the end of Blackmore's final go around with the band. Okay, in the 80s, and there's some good performances on here, but you can kind of almost tell the band is like, a lot of shit going on behind the scenes there. But some good performances on here, and it's a Usual Suspects, right? It's basically a greatest hits plus a couple tunes from Perfect Strangers. All right, and one tune from House of Blue Light. So yeah, it's okay. I just don't love it as much as some people do, but it's purple, so gotta like it, right? Live at Montreux, 1996. All right, this is the Perpendicular Tour. Steve Morse, the new guy in the band, basically playing greatest hits and a handful of tunes from that album. Another really strong performance. It's amazing how many times the band has played at the Montreux Jazz Festival since that fateful day all those years ago. You know, pretty cool, right? I mean, you know, they got that classic line in Smoke on the Water. That should be good enough to get them to play whenever they want there, right? You would think. But yeah, good stuff on here. Fireball, Ted the Mechanic, Pictures of Home, Black Knight, Woman from Tokyo, No One Came, When a Blind Man Cries, Hey Cisco, Speed King, Smoke on the Water. Sometimes I feel like Screamin' and Fools. That's a good one. All right. Deep Purple, this time around, live in Tokyo, 1975. Come Taste the Band tour. You know, this is pretty good, and I probably should have checked this out beforehand. So I originally thought that this was the because I don't have the Last Concert in Japan stuff or album. All right, that was the last live release before as the band were breaking up. Right, and that is not. I've heard that is not very good, and I believe that's from maybe a year later, their last time around in Japan. This is, you know, you can tell like Tommy was kind of compromised on a lot of these live albums, with the exception of the Long Beach one, but it holds up pretty well here. Okay, my problem with Tommy is like on a lot of the live shows I've heard from him, his time in the band, he seemed to have a real problem playing like the old Blackmore stuff. Or maybe he just didn't have a connection with it. But I just noticed, like, you know, when you're playing Burn and some of those other tunes, he's just like, kind of like phoning it in. Highway Star and all that kind of stuff. He's just kind of phoning it in. And, you know, Smoke on the Water. And I just, but yet he comes to life and sounds great on the Come Taste the Band stuff. So I think that comes down to, we're going to talk about it in a couple minutes, but comes down to Blackmore being a hard guy to follow, right? But, you know, again, this is probably, if you're going to get some Tommy Bolin live stuff from his time in the band, check this one out, and the Long Beach stuff. That's pretty solid. Deep Purple and the Orchestra of the Light Music Society, conducted by Malcolm Arnold, Gemini Suite Live at the Royal Festival Hall, September 1970. Right before they're releasing In Rock, or right around that same time, here we got first movement, second movement, third movement. All right, more classical meets rock stuff. You know, band trying to get this out of their system and doing a favor to John Lord, who was big into doing this at the time. This is a pretty cool curiosity. Goes along with the Concerto album. All right, here we go. More Montreux, 1968. Live in Montreux, 1968. October 4th, 1969, sorry. Montreux, Lido, Switzerland, October 4th, 69. Not the greatest quality recording on this one, but it's still pretty good, really good performances. You got Speed King, Hush, Child in Time, Wring That Neck, Paint It Black, Mandrake Root, and Kentucky Woman. Mandrake Root, 22 minutes long, and Wring That Neck, 20+ minutes long. You know, obviously this is the Mark II era of the band, a lot of jamming and improvisation. A lot. So, but it's good. Good performance. Again, not the greatest sound quality, but still a really good show there. Here we got Deep Purple live at Long Beach Arena, February 27, 1976. Okay. Come Taste the Band tour. Final dregs of the tour. This is actually a pretty good performance. Tommy is in pretty good shape on this one. And you got all sorts of great tunes. You know, a lot of stuff from that album, Come Taste the Band. A lot of Stormbringer and Burn tracks. And you got a couple of, you know, tunes from the Mark II era of the band. Pretty good. You know, you can't really tell by listening to this that it's a band ready to call it quits. I like that. Royal Albert Hall Concerto for Group and Orchestra. Okay. September 24th, 1969. We all know this. Pretty cool. Heavy rock meets classical. Got Blackmore playing a Gibson. Got Gilmore's first time sing with the band live. Pretty notable for a lot of reasons. They went from doing this to doing In Rock. It's like total about face, right? But, you know, pretty historic stuff right there. As is this. California Jam, 1974. You know, this point in time, Deep Purple were arguably one of the biggest rock bands here in the States, and superstars, right? Riding Pretty High. Played a Storm and Set here with, again, a lot of jamming, a lot of extended tracks. Burn, Might Just Take Your Life, Lay Down, Stay Down, Mistreated, Smoke on the Water, You Fool No One, and an epic space trucking. Blackmore smashing up his guitar at the end. All sorts of mayhem ensues. One of their more famous live concerts, right? Captured on film and on audio. Here's another good one, Long Beach, 1971. Not a very long album, but very cool nonetheless. Where's the rest of it? I don't know. Good quality on this. I love these Deep Purple Overseas Live Series releases. You know, they did a great job on the sound and everything, the booklets and everything here. Speed King, Strange Kind of Woman, Child in Time, Mandrake Root. Obviously, the Mark II era of the band. Pretty fiery performances there. As is this. So this has been out. I used to have this on LP way back in the day. Deep Purple in concert. Got 2 shows here. 2 complete shows. One from 1970, one from 72. Okay. 2-disc set. Disc 1, the earlier one, you got Speed King, Child in Time, Wring That Neck, and Mandrake Root. Each track lengthy. Tons of jamming. All right, and then over on disc 2, you got Highway Star, Strange Kind of Woman, Maybe I'm a Leo, Never Before, Lazy, Space Truckin', Smoke on the Water, and Lucille. What's great is, you know, no repeat of songs. It basically comes out as one great live album. All right, dig this. You know, if you're one of those people who has always had and loved Made in Japan, but didn't really kind of venture far beyond that as far as the live albums go, I highly recommend this one as another great one from the Mark II era of the band. And it basically comes across as a full live album. All right, here's another good one. Deep Purple live in London at the Gaumont State Theatre in Kilburn. Okay, obviously this is the start of the Burn tour. Good performances here. Got Burn, Might Just Take Your Life, Lay Down, Stay Down, Mistreated, Smoke on the Water, You Fool No One, and another Space Truckin'. Epic performance on here. Really good. Very solid. Good sound quality on that. I dig that a lot. All right, so, you know, these, as you can tell, are my favorites. All right, these are some of the really good ones. Here's another great one from the Mark II era. Stockholm, 1970. Early in the tour for In Rock. All right, Speed King, Into the Fire, Child in Time, Wring That Neck, Paint It Black, Mandrake Root, Black Knight. Okay, got some bonus tracks on here, bonus DVD. This is a really good one, folks. Raw and raucous early Mark II stuff right there. Here's another great one. Okay, so again, basically going back to what I said before, if you really love the Mark II era and you're looking to get more albums that are similar to Made in Japan, you must get this, and you must get Copenhagen 1972. Okay, this is also available on DVD, the full concert. It's in black and white, dynamite. 1972 in Copenhagen, Highway Star, Strange Kind of Woman, Child in Time, The Mule, Lazy, Space Truckin', Fireball, Lucille, and Black Knight, as well as some bonus tracks from another concert. This is immense. Again, the band just stretching out all over the place. Gilmore, it's early, guys, don't mind me. Gillan, Singing Up a Storm, Blackmore on Fire, the whole band just killing it. Love that. These are my top 5, without question. Okay, all right, so I have long talked about and long loved the Made in Europe album. Okay, it's a great live album. However, that was taken from various sources. Okay, that was taken from Blackmore's final shows with the band before he left to go start up Rainbow. Stuttgart, Graz, and Paris. Okay, 2 of them have been released in their entirety. Well, mostly in their entirety. Here we got Live in Graz, 1975. Fantastic. You got Burn, Stormbringer, The Gypsy, Lady Double Dealer, Mistreated, Smoke on the Water, You Fool No One, and Space Truckin'. Okay? Fantastic. Sound quality is awesome. Okay? Very, very good. As is this. I almost ranked this higher. I almost wanted to rank these 2 higher than the actual official album release that came out at the time, but I thought better of it, and I'll tell you why. So the final show with Blackmore, live in Paris, 1975. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's amazing how a guy who knew he was leaving, probably totally disinterested in what the band was doing at the time because he was ready to go get Rainbow starting up, and yet he pulled in some of his best performances ever in the band on these recordings. Killer stuff here. A great 2-disc album. Burn, Stormbringer, The Gypsy, Lady Double Dealer, Mistreated, Smoke on the Water, You Fool No One, Space Truckin', Going Down, and Highway Star. You know, the only thing negative I could say about this album, or even the Graz album, is like, you know, I guess when it comes right down to it, Gillan and Blackmore are really hard guys to replicate. And I personally, whenever the Mark III era of the band would play the Mark II era stuff, I never liked the way Coverdale and Hughes sang Gillan's vocals. Just didn't seem to work. It didn't mesh, right? Because two totally different lineups, two different sounds. Same thing you could say when, you know, when Tommy Bolin was in the band on the Come Taste the Band tour. You know, him playing Blackmore stuff didn't really work. All right, two totally different players. And I almost got the impression he was kind of like not even wanting to go there, right? Same thing here, okay? So while the performances of those old Mark II era songs are good from a musical perspective, you know, personally you're going to be hit or miss with the way Coverdale and Hughes sing the Gillan lines. But otherwise, a fantastic album. And again, let's remember that this, which is my number 2, the reason I'm going to put this at number 2 is because I've got so much history with this. I grew up with this album. They basically took the best performances from Paris, Graz, and Stuttgart and made in Europe. So these are like probably the best performances. My only gripe with this always is that why wasn't it a double? Because why don't we have, you know, the Gypsy on here? Why don't we have, you know, any of the Mark II stuff? Well, I'm not too worried about that. You know, it just, they could have put more on here. They could have made this a true double, and they didn't. But they kind of pieced it together. It's a great live album. The band sounds smoking hot. The vocals are amazing. Blackmore's guitar work is off the charts. This is still to this day remains one of my favorite live albums when it comes to Blackmore's guitar work. He's just killing on here, the entire thing. All right, Burn, Mistreated, Lady Double Dealer, You Fool No One, and Stormbringer. And I always love the front album cover shot. I love the live shots on the back. I just remember when I bought this, I was like in heaven. So that's my number 2. My number 1, no surprise to anybody here, it's going to be made in Japan, obviously. All right, just immense. One of the best live albums of all time. It's my favorite live album of all time. It's just that good, people. It's that good. It's, you know, no overdubs here. It's raw, in your face. There's tons of improv and soloing going on. The performances on here, you know, they take these songs, they make them heavier live. What's great is, like, you know, a lot of the soloing, all right, the solos are different from how they were performed on the studio albums. You know, you listen to Blackmore's solo on Child in Time, completely different to the one on In Rock. And they're both amazing, but for different reasons. Okay? Gillan's shrieking up a storm on that. Okay? Blackmore's solo on Smoke on the Water is great. Highway Star is immense on here. You got the Herculean, you know, Space Truck, and I drew a complete blank there. Plus you got, you know, Black Knight on here. If you got the remastered reissue, okay? You got Speed King, Black Knight, and Lucille. I could do without Lucille, but, you know, having those other 2 tracks on here, mandatory. You know, Lazy, The Mule. It's just it's crazy good, crazy good. My favorite live album of all time. My favorite Deep Purple live album. So, but a lot of really good ones. You know, again, half of this list I love a lot. The other half I really dig. All right, but, you know, there's so many of them. And, you know, some you've given more time than others. But I think there's notable, all of these are worth getting. Okay, there's nothing here on this live album list that truly sucks. All right? The one with the worst quality is obviously the one from 68. Okay, the first one I showed you from the Mark I era of the band. That's probably the worst sound quality out of all these. But it's still notable because it's the Rod Evans era of the band. You got to have at least something from them, right? So, but otherwise, some really good stuff here. A lot of the ones from like the 90s and the 2000s, the Morse era of the band, are just crystal clear, really energetic, sound great, okay? There's a lot of those, though, you know, obviously. But, you know, some of the ones that I've been listening to for eons and eons, obviously, are, you know, mean a lot to me. So there you have it. this is more of a let's talk about some of these great Deep Purple live albums, and I'm not getting too hung up on where some of these fall on the list. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just more about, it's cool to kind of talk about them. So if you haven't heard any of these, what I might do is I'll work on dropping a list in the comments or the description of all of them, so you guys can kind of go in and look them up and listen to them here on YouTube, or go out and buy them, or, whatever you're going to do. But, I would recommend most, if not all of these. They're all worth having. So if you're a Deep Purple fan, right? So if you're more interested in the classic era of the band, obviously I highlighted the ones that are really, really noteworthy, those last 10 or 15 or so. Those are, pretty great. I don't know how much more is in the archives, because we haven't had anything in a couple of years, so we might have seen all there really is to dust out of the vaults. But you never know. You never know. Be interesting to see what they come up with. So anyway, this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. Thanks for joining. We got more stuff coming up tonight. We've got the Seibert brothers, Craig and George, doing a rant. You'll see what that is when we post it. I'm not going to give it away. It'll be a fun discussion. More stuff coming up this week, so don't touch that dial. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.